came in and they said, "Are they all your shoes?" And Simon said, "They are all his shoes, but they're not all of his shoes." So I've just brought a few along tonight, and if you want, we'll pass them around if you want to have a feel and see what they're like.
Can we buy them?
If we like, if the offer's right.
You can't even touch them unless you wash your hands.
The thing I'd say to you is that everything I go through tonight is just me. It's my opinion, so it doesn't mean to say that I'm right, but I do like shoes and running shoes. So I've looked up loads of stuff, different things. So as well as talking about the shoes, it's just a few other things about maintenance, how you keep on top of your shoes, explaining a little bit about the different aspects of shoes as well, and then I'll pass a few round so you can just get a think and a feel about, oh, okay, do these ones work for me? Well, that's a good starting point. We could start with that, couldn't we? Because it's all on here. So I've got it here with a pen, so I'll make sure I cover it up. So you said I have a bit of mud on mine occasionally.
Yeah, I said I scrape the mud off mine.
So shoe maintenance, number 2. So where you leave your shoes. So yeah, they're nice and clean. I like those ones, joking. So a lot of people go for their, especially their trail runs and weekend. What do you do with your shoes when you go home, Stacey?
They're just sitting by the door and drying out.
Drying out. Hates your mud or the clean?
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Not too bad, but they will need, I normally dry them out, give them a bash and then a scrape.
Like.
Mine are all cleaned and stuff.
Brilliant.
Mine have still got the mud stuck on the soles because that Essex mud goes.
Clay.
It sets like pottery.
Yeah.
And once
So,
it's set, you can't get it off unless you wet it.
so the good thing is, none of you put them in a washing machine.
No.
So don't put your shoes in the washing machine because the heat is not good for them. All your shoes are all glued together, they're not stitched together, and that's what the heat of the washing machine, or put them in a tumble dryer, even worse, don't do that. Just wash them. All it needs is, you can get these like shoe scrubbing things with just a toothbrush. Just give them a clean afterwards and your shoes will last so much longer. Don't leave them outside in the cold either, because the bit that you're paying for when you buy a shoe is this bit, the midsole. And that's the bit temperature gets to, whether it's hot or cold. So also don't leave your shoes in the sunshine for prolonged periods of time. Don't leave them in the car on a hot sunny day, because this is the bit that will decay. So that's your shoe maintenance. But you also said about newspaper, paper inside, so what did you do with
Yeah, stuff them out.
Yeah, with newspaper, yeah.
stuff out? 10 minutes is all it needs the first lot, take it out, so it'll soak up loads of water and then put your next lot in. If you've got, a lot of people have got combi boilers now, but if you've got an immersion tank, and you've got a little place to put them in, that's the best place to put them. It doesn't get too warm, it gets them nice and dry. That's your shoe maintenance.
Not on a radio.
Not on a radiator. Radiators are not good because you'll get all that heat going straight into the midsole. First thing on the list here though is actually just tracking how much you use your shoes. So who's on Strava or Garmin? Okay. Who logs all of their different shoes on there and makes sure after all their runs they know which shoes they've run in? It's a bit of addiction. But the important thing is, for your shoes, you'll get to know as you run how many miles you do in the shoes. And the more miles you do, come back to that bit, your midsole, you'll wear out on the outsole, but it's your midsole that gets degraded. And it's the miles that you run in them of that being compressed all the time, it stops bouncing back eventually. So you'll be limited to the amount of miles where you'll still have that spring. Who's had one pair of shoes and then bought exactly the same make and gone out for the same one? And you go, oh, that feels like really springy, doesn't it? It feels like a... And that's because these are just, this midsole is all squashed down and it's lost what you're paying for it to do, that responsiveness to give you the kick off. So, make sure you track your miles. Number 1 tip, so you know how many miles you've run in each of your pairs of shoes. Because these bits might wear away, and I'll show you on these. Jane, your question today, favourite pair of shoes. These are my favourites. Nike React Fly Knit 2s. And these ones, there's only this little bit of outsole here and here. Tiny little bit of rubber. This is the midsole that's all exposed and it wears away. It doesn't bother me because I know I can still run in it okay because I know how many miles I've done in the pairs of shoes.
Sorry, Chris.
It's alright. So it's just understanding on there how many miles you've done in each pair, keep the track on it. And it'll be different for different shoes. If you're running in something like these, which is like a daily trainer, these are the Pegasus. If you're running in these, you can probably get 500 or 600 miles out of a pair of those. no problems. These will wear away on the outsole, but the midsole will still do its job. If you're talking about something like this, which is the Vaporfly, which is like the super expensive shoes, you'll probably only get, if you want to use these for races, up to about 200 miles, where that will do what it does. You can train for more afterwards, but where you're going to get that real advantage of saving it for races, you're only probably going to get about 200 miles out of it. So, important, track your miles. And if you can't, for those who've not done it, you can't put your gear on the mobile app, you have to do it via a computer or an iPad. Alright? So that's that bit. How many miles? I started to talk about what makes this up a shoe. I'll pass a couple of shoes round so you can get a feel for the difference, alright? So that one, that's the Pegasus, that's your daily trainer. That's the Vaporfly, that's your racer. So just feel the difference in the weight of those two. Don't smell them.
I don't think anybody was got
So you can see the difference between those two shoes when they come round. Shoe sizes. I'll tell you another thing about shoe sizes. I'll tell you what got me into shoes in the first place was these. Alright? So probably like most of you, I ran in Mizuno Wave Riders, then I ran in Asics, then I ran in some Nikes. Basically I was just running in daily trainers. And I went over, I started to read up a bit, watch a few YouTube channels. Yeah, carbon plate.
Yeah.
And I went over to Nike at Freeport and I saw these. These are the Nike Zoom Fly Flyknit. And I read on the side, it says full length carbon fibre plate. Ooh. And I was with my boys, and I was like, oh, I don't know how to get these. And they said, just get them, you love your running. And I put them on, and it felt like it wanted to just push me forward. I'm going to get those. And that was it. Because when I ran in those for the first time, I was like, what a difference in the way that you run. So carbon plate side things, you'll feel it when you get those. Just give them a, like that, between the two different ones. So you'll notice with the Pegasus, the black one, when you do that, it will bing, doesn't it? Then you do the one with the carbon plate, and like, don't push too hard, you're like, it doesn't work. This is the same. So you know the Blade Runner? Do you remember the Oscar Pistorius?
Yeah.
And he ran on a carbon plate. And what he's using that for is to spring forward. And that's what a carbon plate does. So a few of these shoes that I'll pass around tonight have got that carbon plate. But this was the first one. And when I tried it and I ran in it, and I saw the difference in my times, running half marathons, 5Ks, 10Ks, it's like there's something about the shoe. I think sometimes it can be up here as well, but there is definitely a big effect that you get with the shoe, and it makes it not only much faster, it makes it much easier. And I'll explain a little difference between the Vaporfly one there and the Alphafly, the one over there. But that was the one. That's the one that got me started when I realised there's much more to shoes than. I won't pass that one round.
The carbon's so stiff though, it makes you feel like you don't actually get a push off though, doesn't it? Because it's so stiff.
Yeah, so you have, so what you'll also see if you hold it up is the design of the shoe. So they tend to have a bit of a rocker effect,
Right.
so that your foot goes like that. And when you try, who's tried a pair of carbon shoes with a carbon fibre plate in? Okay. So the Vaporfly, yeah. So when you put them on, what does it feel like? Your foot wants to go forward and it propels you forward. So I know what you mean, Sharon, about it feels like it's all really stiff, but they're just designed. You put a pair on, I promise you, when you go and try a pair, you'll go, oh my word, I just want to move, I just want to run. It just pushes you forward. So, yeah, it's a shame they can't run for you. The other thing is, when you some of these came out and said, oh, these are designed only for really fast runners. But I've watched a few different YouTube videos that says actually, it doesn't really matter what pace you run at, there's a difference to be had from this. They will help you with your economy. The difference you'll also get is with this one. So you look at that and you think, geez, that's like a serious stack on that thing there, isn't it? So the maximum stack height you can have is 40 millimetres on a size 9. Anything more than that and it's illegal, you can't race in it. So that is maxed out, 40 mil. But what all that cushioning does, and what you've also got in the front there is a zoom pod, which on the black ones, the Pegasus, you've got those as well. You just can't see them. They're all covered in foam. But what they say these ones are great for is when you get to the last 6 miles of a marathon. Because when your feet and your legs are starting to feel tired, this cushion, along with these pods, just saves your legs. It makes all the difference. So these are heavier than the Vaporflies.
So that's a shorter distance.
That's up to, they say half marathon. You can do marathons in those, but if you listen to like a serious runner, they'll always say go for these for your marathons.
What are those? Sorry,
They're the Alpha Flies.
Alpha
They're very light still, but they're a little bit heavier than those ones.
A lot of people want to go shopping with you after this. You know that.
As long as it's
Road
quiet.
trip to Freeport. It's going
It's going to be night shop, isn't it?
Huh?
It's going to be the night shop.
Well, you won't get those in the Nike store at Freeport, but you can get plenty of shoes. So you've got your SL 20.2s on over there, haven't you?
Yeah.
These are the original SL20s, alright? I love these shoes. When I do my hill sessions in these, if I'm doing a 5k, I'll do them in these. And you'll see past that one, they're a really light shoe as well, right? Nothing flash. I got those at Freeport for £30. Those ones that Mark's holding, if you buy those brand new, they're £270.
Don't drop it, Mark.
That's alright, it'll bounce. It's got loads of foam on the bottom.
What size are you, Mark? You could grow into them, Mark.
Take the laces out, they'd be no good to no one.
Laces are 50 quid a load.
So Mark said about what shoe size am I. So that's something else that's changed as I've run and is important. Just looking at your shoe fit. So thumbs come in really handy for shoes. And all what you want to be able to do is when you put your shoe on, make sure it's at the back, and you want to put your thumb at the end, between the end of your big toe and between the end of your shoe.
No. Yeah.
Just about.
Swelling in your feet.
Because when you run, your feet swell, and they get. My first pair of shoes that I bought to run in were a size 9. I now run in size 10.
They always say a size bigger.
Just a thumb. As long as you've got a thumb in there, you'll be fine for it. So it'd be different because some of those, you're having a right good look at those, Stacey, aren't you?
Oh, just see what size they are. Try them on. Try them around the car park.
You can do if you want.
If we're borrowing for the evening. Yeah, I'm going for a little jog.
So when you're talking about what makes up the shoe, so you've got the 3 aspects. You've got your upper, which is, as it sounds, the upper part. You've got your midsole, which is where the foam is. I say, and that is what you're paying for. Whether it is just the midsole foam by itself, whether it's a carbon plate that's in there. You can also get nylon plates. You can get carbon rods. There's all sorts of enhancements, but they're all doing in effect the same thing. They're just trying to give you that spring off, and to give you as well, the foam that they use in those shoes is called ZoomX in the Alpha Fly. And with that, because it is so cushioned and returns so well, if you haven't got something in there to give it a bit of stability, it becomes really soft. So this is ZoomX as well. It looks very similar to those. That's the Pegasus. These are the Pegasus Turbo 2s. Lighter. I'll pass those round with this, but what you'll see is the difference between that and how that flexes and how that flexes. It's much lighter because that's the ZoomX foam that's in there. So when you say you're paying for your shoe, the other third part is the bottom, your sole, your outer. And the only thing you really need to think about when it comes to the outer is what conditions you're running in. So these are my favourite shoes, the same as those ones there, the Epic React Flying. Absolutely useless in the rain. If it's wet, you're going to be skidding all over the place. But as long as it's dry, you can use it anywhere. If it's wet, I prefer using those SL20s. They've just got a little bit more grip on, You can see underneath, I think they're Goodyear, are they? Continental.
Yeah, the Continentals are brilliant.
So it's just understanding what the outsole does for you. Then what you've also got, you've got something like this which Nike do. So Asics do something similar, lots of mates do, where these are called the shield. So you've got a little bit more protection against if it's raining, so your foot doesn't get wet, and you've got a slightly deeper tread underneath. Again, have we got the Texas fitters around with the one that Mark's got? But you'll notice the difference where you have a little bit more tread on there. So that's all right for if it's wet or if it's on trails. Just gives you a little bit more protection on there. Sorry.
You got your toothbrush?
Well, I'm going to apologise for that underneath on every single pair of shoes, Stacey. Thanks for the feedback. No. I told you not to smell them, didn't I?
Wondered if you used odour.
Chris, when you're talking about size, it struck me one of the other things that has an influence on size is what socks you're wearing. Have you got any comments on that? Because some are double skin, some are single skin, some are thicker.
I've got lots of different pair of socks. The ones that I'm now like the most are these ones called features. But just, you know, I was just saying to Simon actually that I was telling someone I work with and that I was doing this tonight, and they talked about a television program called Billions. Never watched it, and they were talking about a guy on there who, one of the episodes, John Wooden, who's a basketball coach, and somehow he got brought into this particular episode. And the character was saying, yeah, I spent some time with him, and the thing that he taught me was how to put on shoes and socks. And it sounds like daft, doesn't it? Both big, world famous basketball coach, known for working to the pyramid of success. But the number one thing that this coach had told this one person was how to put on shoes and socks. There's no difference when it comes to running. Get your foundations right, get your shoes right, get your socks right. Now I'm passing around my shoes. This is just what I found works for me. But you'll have different things that will work for you potentially. Just because these are the shoes that I like doesn't mean to say that they're going to be the shoes that you'll like. So what you would have noticed with the Alpha Flies and the Vapor Flies, they're brand new. Because I've not had a race to run in them yet. I got injured, so I've not had a chance to run in those. So I'm saving them for when I get a race. Fingers crossed, hopefully soon.
You've got a separate room at home.
I've
Got a separate home.
I've got a great big wooden box that's about that big that keeps about half of them in. Right. And the rest is in the walk-in wardrobe that's mainly now walk-in shoe shop.
So all of yours are cushioned because that's what you prefer, or?
Well, they're not cushioned as in what you call cushioned as in stability shoes. Because if you look at the Pegasus Turbo 2s on, the Alpha Flies on. I've got some Hokas which I'll pass around in a second. Well, actually none of these are that I've got here. Probably the Pegasus is the closest one to, but they're all really neutral shoes. Now I know we've spoken about this before, Luke, haven't we? Because Steve, who did the talk the other week, I wasn't here for that unfortunately, but I know he's got a view actually that it doesn't make that much difference whether you have a stability shoe or a neutral shoe. The most important thing actually is doing all your core strength work, and I do believe that, because when I had my first gait analysis, they put me in Wave Rider 11, so long ago. They were from Mizuno, and they were a neutral on the edge of stability, because that's when I had my gait analysis, went to a shop, did what they did, they said that's what I needed. But I just started running, and the one thing I've learned definitely over the last year, more so than the rest of the time that I've run, having been injured, is that strength and conditioning is so important. And I think as long as you have a good strength and conditioning routine, it doesn't actually matter what shoe you're running. There's videos of runners who do marathons in just over 2 hours who pronate awfully, and you think their ankles are going to snap, but they're running in those things. But they do good strength and conditioning, they do all the recovery in the right way, they'll be running 100 plus miles each week, and they will not be running in a cushioned stability shoe. But I said, that's just my view. I'm not telling you what you should do, you've got to find what works for yourself. But most of us here, we're running a fair few miles each week now. And if you say, as long as you're doing your strength and conditioning alongside it, you should be in a reasonable position to wear pretty much any shoe that you want. What else have we got on our list? We've spoke a little bit about the outsole. Oh, I learned something this week actually. I'm always learning about shoes. So these are my trail shoes. If I was buying another pair of trail shoes now, I wouldn't buy these. Because I'd buy something with a bigger lug on.
Did you wear them on Sunday?
Yeah.
Yeah, you needed a bigger lug, didn't you?
Yeah. That's all over the place.
Yeah.
And I bought my other half a pair of Adidas Terex trail shoes. Much bigger lugs, and do you know what, they were Gore-Tex. Got Gore-Tex trail shoes, anyone?
Yeah, on the Gore-Tex.
Oh,
My Asics are
how nice are they?
Yeah.
They are, except for when you get water in them, you're running along with puddles
Don't
of
let
water
them
in your
out.
feet, so they don't always, they're always
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I don't wear them on in the wet.
Well, my other half shoe, her socks were bone dry afterwards. Mine was absolutely saturated. So that's something else. Just thinking about that lug depth. I'm not an expert on trail shoes. I know a lot about road shoes. I don't know much about trail shoes, but I just know what needed a bigger lug. So there's different depths, and it's just worth doing a bit of extra research.
Yeah, I've got two different pairs. I've got one similar to that and one bigger. So depending on
What conditions you're running in.
conditions, yeah, because I actually wore the wrong ones on Sunday. I wore similar to you. Well, I should have worn the other one, but I was saving them for Christmas.
Cross country, you see. I'm going to let Mark talk about cross country.
Big lugs.
The same.
Yeah, or spikes.
Yeah,
But
spikes.
the thing is with spikes, if you're running road shoes, running trail shoes, and then you're running spikes, you've got like 0 drop on it, and really plays havoc with your calf muscles. And you do need to build into running with spikes, because it is, because you're just on the, because spikes are on the front, you find yourself wanting to run on the spikes, so then it just loads your calves up, so it does take a bit getting used to. Yeah, you hit hard ground, you feel every spine in the bottom of your foot, but it's the payoff for the grip in the softer bit. So like the weekend it was a bit gravelly, I don't know if anybody else running spikes, it was cut the hard bit, yeah, you running road shoes.
I'll go for it.
Trail shoes are at home. Yeah, there was a couple of steep downhill bits with big stones in, and coming down there it was like trying to find the soft bit, so the spikes work. So yeah, all big lugs. Yeah, they're all right for summer trails. Yeah, there's not so much mud. Yeah.
I need to buy a pair of trails. What's a pair of trails I need to buy? Because I've got a pair of more miles, and I shred them. I chuck them out.
And then, you know, I think we missed a bit of stuff. I'm going to tell you what I do. I'll happily talk to someone on a one-to-one basis and give you my
I'll just
suggestions.
give you my Amazon login.
But you've got to find what works for you. There's something
You
that...
need to go and try them on. You need to.
yeah, definitely.
You have to.
Mark, you said about drop, didn't you, on when you're doing with spikes. Do you know what I mean by drop? What Mark means by drop? So if you nodding, anyone not know what I mean by drop?
Oh,
Okay. So the drop is from the front of your shoe, the height of the front, to the height to your back. So it can range anything from 0 drop, which is what your spikes are. So it means your front of your shoe is exactly the same height as the back. Outras, they're not. I know you love outras, don't you?
Yeah.
They're 0 drop. So I know today on Jane's question, a few people said they love running in their outras. I ran in outras for a while. It caused me all sorts of problems. Calf. And I transitioned to them gradually. But I started wearing them because of the toe box.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Super wide toe box. I called them my clown shoes. Simon used to laugh at me every time I wore them.
Because you look like a clown.
Because I look like a clown. 'Cause
And sounded like a clown.
It is the shape of your foot.
Yeah.
Where most no one has a foot that shape, do they? Yeah, our feet go like that. So outras are really good if you suffer with blisters between your toes, because it means your toes can all splay out. But you might need to do a bit of a transition if you go into outras, because you're going to that 0 drop.
I haven't been a problem for me. I've been wearing them for quite a few months now. I don't know, I like it.
Yeah.
I haven't had any problem. I've got 3 pairs of ultras, different trainers, and they're all
And I was the same.
the same.
And if everyone's different, and that's why then you've got to find the shoes that work for you. What is worth just covering off though is the returns policies. So every company is different, but I've got a lot of Nike because Nike are excellent. You can get a pair of Nike. At the moment, it's a 60-day return. You can even go out for a run in them once, and if you don't get on with them, they'll just take them back and give you a refund. So you look into it because they've all got different return policies about either length of time or whether you can do a run in them. But it's well worth doing that research beforehand, especially if you like. There's deals that come up every so often. If you do ever run in Nikes, definitely sign up to be a Nike member. It doesn't cost you anything. They give you a nice discount when it's your birthday. Normally around Christmas time they do a 30% discount on everything. So you can get some, and it's free returns as well. You can get some really good deals, really good customer service. I bought a pair for my other half, more than one pair, but one pair that I bought her, and she'd done about 120 miles in it, and just the tick, where the tick is, started to come away. So I contacted Nike, said not a problem, and they just returned them and gave her another pair of shoes. So that's what I've got a lot of Nike because I found the service has been absolutely brilliant. Other shoes, Hockers. Who's running in those at all? Thought you might have done if you were running out. How have you got with those?
Well, me, that was a long time ago, they're alright, yeah.
So it's another one with not necessarily a zero drop, but tends to have a smaller drop. But that's another one where you see that rocker shape to it.
You fell forward.
I really like mine, but I've worn them probably quite a few years. The last year, 18 months, whatever, they've changed the design slightly. So the styles that I used to get, models that I used to get, they don't feel the same. And again, because they've got their 90-day, I think, warranty. So yeah, free returns, free delivery. They send them to you, you can try them out, go out running in them. If they're not right, just wipe them over, package them back, and then they refund you or send you a replacement. So yeah, but as I say, they've not been the same. We both had them, didn't we?
Yeah.
And for some reason they've changed.
Them. So you've got to find again, same thing what's right for you. Because I've had these. This is the only pair of Hockers I've had. There's a couple of things you'll notice about underneath.
Yeah.
What do you notice about those underneath?
Dirty.
Dirty, I know, shocking, yeah.
Mine seems to wear
Out,
out.
so there's no outsole.
No, mine seems the cushioning seems to wear out quicker than say the Asics and that I was wearing at the time.
Yeah.
To go a lot quicker.
So when you look at Hockers, a lot of the people say that the cushioning goes.
Yeah.
They say that because you have no outsole, you're just running on the mid-foam, that it can wear out quicker as well. I think I've done about 80, 90 miles in those, so not many miles, but I've found them lovely. That's another...
Is that your Carbon X?
That's the Carbon X ones, yes. That's another one with a carbon plate where you'll see the lack of flex in it. So I've got lots of pair of shoes, haven't I? That's like fairly obvious. So the other thing I put on there is about shoe rotation. So I never run in the same pair of shoes 2 days in a row. I've made one exception to that, which was actually last weekend, because he made me go for a run on Saturday on the trails, and then I had a trail race on the Sunday. And I've only got one pair of trail shoes, so I didn't have yeah, I know, it's shocking, isn't it? Because I don't like doing those trails.
You did pretty well, you came first.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. That's why I think I might have to get another pair of trail shoes, because I quite enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting that.
We saw you coming running down the road as we were driving there. Was like, is that Chris? Where's he going? He's got no instructions with him, so...
Downloaded it to his watch.
We wanted him to along.
No. So, important that you talk about that, the foam in the middle, in the midsole, how it all gets compressed. You should really be leaving it 48 hours in between a run so that it can decompress. So that's why you should try, if you can, not to run in the same shoe all the time. The other benefit you get of running in different shoes is that you're working different muscles in the whole of the chain of your leg. So that means that your legs become stronger as well. You're giving different muscles a different workout. If you're running the same shoe all the time, you're only working out the same muscles. The other thing that happens if you just run in one pair of shoes as well, if you then go to your next pair of shoes straight away, you've not done that getting used to another pair of shoes. So even if you're going to run in a couple of pairs of shoes, when you don't wait until one of those runs out before you get your next one. if you can, get another one beforehand so that you can build it into your rotation. But try and not have one pair of shoes wearing out and then go straight into another pair. Try and have, if you can, 3 pairs as a minimum in your rotation.
Do you have a spreadsheet for your rotation?
Well, I know what I'm running because this comes back to that bit, the first point on here about putting it on Strava.
Yeah.
So if you're checking every run, as soon as you get back, update what you're running. I know what I'm running, but it's a good question because I don't always remember.
No.
Especially when you're running every day over a period of time, which I was doing. Your brain does go a bit as you get to a certain age. So yeah, that was really handy. I'd go back in and check to see exactly what I've done. The other good thing is, well, if you load it on Strava, when you can set the mileage when you want a notification to say, right, you've now done X number of miles.
Yeah, I like that. It sends you an email. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, shopping time.
It's always shopping time in my house, Carl. Now, I've also put down the bottom about YouTubers. So, a lot of my knowledge and when I've bought different shoes has come from recommendations that I've seen on YouTube. So, you'll see there's a whole list of different people on there. Then I know you look at a few YouTubers, don't you, Craig? Because you often send me links to things that you looked at. And you sent me something at the weekend, Luke, about the running channel on YouTube as well. Out of all the ones that are on here, if I was a male, which I am, Ed Budd, if none of you have seen him, have a look at him. All he does is talk about running and shoes. But he'll tell you what it's like for him. He's never sponsored by anyone, he buys every shoe with his own money, and he'll just give you his honest opinion. And he'll not just get them out of the box and do one run, he tells you what it's like after 100 miles of running as well, what the impact has been. If you're female, there's another lady on there, Run Like Hella. Just go and watch hers because it's different, male, female shoes. She's American, she uploads a video every 2 or 3 days, but just search her out. But if you're thinking of buying any shoes, just go into YouTube, put the name of the shoe, put review after it, and you'll get a whole load of different people come up. But Ed Budd, for me, I love what he does. He also talks about new shoes that are coming up. And he doesn't test every shoe, but he'll test the shoes where he knows he's got that shoe will be right for him and he can do a good review for it. He's a decent club runner. He's not an elite. So Ben Felton, that's another one of these, a local guy who came and did the first Marksall Park run. He won the first Marksall Park run, and for most of us, you can see what he does and you think, well, that's nice, but I'm never going to get anywhere near him. But if you say, watch Ed Budd, you'll be thinking, all right, he's running like I'm running at a similar sort of pace. And it's the same with Run Like Hella. Same thing, it's running paces that we can run at this club. So when you listen to her reviews, it becomes relevant for you and the running that you might want to do.
Ben Filton, when he was at Malden Park Run, came in first, and he was filming himself all the way round.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, and I think he came third at the cross country on Saturday.
Yeah, he's good cross country runner,
Yeah. So I've covered the rotation, where to buy, runners thing. So I think I've covered everything on there.
Runners not. Runners not.
Runners not, right, really important. I put that next to the thumb bit, didn't I? So on I've only got a runner's knot on one pair of these, which is out of all these shoes here, is my least favourite pair of shoes. The Pegasus 37. Really do not. I love the 36s. They're brilliant shoes. Cannot stand these, if I'm honest. I've got another pair that are brand new that I'm never going to wear that I've got to sell. And I can't stand them because they slip at the back. There's not enough padding in the tongue. It just feels really uncomfortable. I wear these for miles where I really just want to get some miles on my legs. I don't enjoy running in these much at all. If I hadn't bought them, my life would be no better or different. So, but on here, you've got the runner's knot. So, you know you get this other little eyelet that sits at the back? Yeah, like Mark's got, down there. Most of them have got, but not all of them. So these don't have them. So Simon educated me on this, on the runner's knot.
I educated you on it, and you did some research on it, and then I stopped using it because I wear elastic laces in mine, which I can set for how I want them to feel, and they're the same every time I put them on.
So
£1.89.
five
pairs at a time.
So what the runner's knot is really useful is where you get that heel slippage. Because what it'll do, it goes a little bit further back, and it just gives you a little bit more secureness around the top part of your foot, around your ankle. So I don't like using it. The fact it's on these tells you the story about why I've got them on these. I've used runners not on 2 pairs of shoes, these and Adidas Solar Boosts, because they just I get heel slip on them.
Do you make the little loop and then take it through?
I'm not going to show you how to do it because you'll never
know how to
remember
do it.
unless you know how to do it. If you go on YouTube, put in runners knot, and you can just sit there and you can watch what it does. And put it on
But
yourself.
there is actually probably 5 different ways of using it as well. So sometimes, you know, you may find, you know, when we were doing it, I found a way that worked for me, and the one that worked for you was completely different, wasn't it? And I'm going, why are you tying them like that? And you said, because the other, you know. So, yeah, again, it's personal preference.
So, if you ever get heel slip, when you get a pair of shoes, just look up on YouTube, runners knot, give that a go, and that makes a massive difference. It makes them bearable, not enjoyable, but
Or
bearable.
just get elastic laces.
Or get elastic laces. I think I've gone...
Chris, those ones you just picked up, are they laced differently? Because they go straight across, and you've got other ones that go up diagonally. Are they laced across? Or is it me, my eyes? Oh, they show in my eyes.
It's the eyelids. It's the eyelids that make it.
Yeah, it just makes it look like that.
No, I don't.
You had a...
Yeah,
well,
there's
I
no-
had problems when I first started with some tendinitis, and so that I was shown how to relace the shoes. And in fact, there's about 8 different ways of
Exactly, there's loads of
lacing
different
shoes.
ways.